Yeah, I guess if you guys want to know, I have no interest in starting drama broadly. After all this Bridges stuff happened, I was very sad at first. That's my opinion on the Amaranth situation. I guess I can say, as somebody who's a little bit connected behind the scenes with them, everything I've seen it's very real. It genuinely happened. I just know that they're working with the police right now, so they probably don't want to make too many public statements. So Bridges is not done, but I am going at it solo now. So Destiny is no longer a co-owner of Bridges. It's just him and I. Right now I'm in talks with a couple of people. I actually had this idea that I think is really good. I think it's really, really good. And in fact, I know it's really good because every single content creator I suggest it to also goes, holy shit, that's a really good idea. So, what's my opinion on the ERUDITE situation? I don't know. I think she's a great gal. What can I say? Okay, so for Bridges going forward, what we're going to be doing is, and by we, I mean it might be Ben Jordan and I, it might just be myself, and then Nick, obviously, who will be supporting me. I'm going to talk with Ben probably tonight or tomorrow. He's been like super hard crunching to get out his latest video on capitalism. But basically, my original goal with Bridges, for a lot of people who aren't aware, was kind of twofold. Number one, I've always been interested in bridge building, and it seemed like when I first approached Steven, that was something he was interested in. But also a secondary and kind of major goal for why Steven was included and why he was interested was to kind of create this more serious space that's a little bit more separate from all of the drama and all that stuff, so that he can have a space to somewhat legitimize and have a more professional atmosphere to talk to people. And I was just super happy to do that because it's a super amazing opportunity. There's a lot of misconceptions that I came down only for Bridges.
Are you on friendly terms with D? And if so, why?
I'll get to that. Just so you guys know, I appreciate all the comments and the questions, but I'm gonna like string it all together in order.
Hey, your content helped me through terrible things lately. Just wanted you to know you're appreciated.
Thank you. Okay, so that was the original goal. Now, obviously, I think I don't want to speak too much for Steve, but what I've understood from him, obviously, is that he's pulling back from all extra content, just wants to do streaming. We've kind of been politically diverging increasingly, I think, since the election. I think he's got a bit of a like scorched earth approach a little bit more. He really wants to kind of meet Republicans at the tactics that he views them as using. And I think a lot of people agree with him. And just to be clear, that could be the correct approach for like managing modern day politics. I just don't know. I don't know. I do know that I don't agree, basically. And I think
Do you still communicate with Destiny?
I do, yes. I see. After the election, I'm going to back up. After the election, I didn't expect the results. So my expectations were, I basically, if I had to put like numbers on it, I probably would have said, I think I was at 51% that Kamala would win the Electoral College and 49% that Trump would win the Electoral College. And pretty consistently, Democrats tend to win popular vote because of California and stuff like that. So I didn't think much about the popular vote other than I just kind of assumed that it would probably fall Democratic. What was not on the cards for me at all was Trump winning the popular vote. And I know it wasn't by this insanely huge margin, but especially compared to the fact that Democrats have been winning it so consistently, I didn't expect it. And I would have put Trump winning the popular vote before the election probably at less than 5%. And it occurred. And so when that happened, my knee-jerk reaction was obviously to be like, oh, I'm so mad. And then, I had a day to process my feelings and realized, oh my gosh, like my thinking system, there's a problem here. Because either an event occurred that only had a 5% likelihood. My windows are open. Hold on. Saw a massive moth fly into the house because the window is open. Or so either a 5% likelihood event occurred, or my input was incorrect and I was predicting off of bad data, probably because I was biased in my thinking. And so I went, oh shit, okay, that means that I'm probably pretty out of touch with like the American populists and voting people, and in general kind of a right-wing come up that's been happening.
Why aren't you showing your feet in the mirror anymore? Is that Destiny's punishment for breaking consent?
If you want to sexualize me, you fundamentally can, but you don't get to degrade me for your sexualizations of me, just to be super clear. So thanks for the 5, I'll take it, but also goodbye. So anyways, I realized that I needed to like rebuild my entire political system. And now I fundamentally believe that political leanings is probably decently like genetic and environmental. Like I don't see people shifting a ton politically, other than what we do see is that as people have children and as they start like businesses, especially small businesses, there's a slight shift right, particularly as openness to experience drops. But that's not been as true for millennials as they age, which is kind of interesting because that's been a general phenomenon that we've been finding.
US outlying islands emoji.
I love this guy. He just keeps giving me money.
Emoji. Saluting face emoji.
Yeah, I'm just keep giving the money. I don't mind. So basically, I've gone back and kind of been revisiting my own political beliefs. I've been taking this course, not being very diligent about it, to be clear. I need to refocus, but basically trying to understand why I believe what I believe. And just so it's clear, because a lot of people will be like, oh, wow, you knew nothing before. I probably knew more than most people who talk about this. But at the end of the day, if my input system was incorrect in its predictions to such a massive degree, something needs to get updated. And so a lot of what I've been doing has been kind of rethinking my last like year in politics, I suppose, and reevaluating it. And I just don't know if I'm convinced that scorched earth is the pathway forward. I think that probably empathy and trying to listen and being firm about certain hardline boundaries is the better way. Because a lot of people see like the moderate, like the Lex Friedman perspective as weak and cowardly. And the reason they think that is because
real talk, are you a socialist yet? Upside down face emoji.
I'm not Benji. I'm going moderate. I'm sorry. It's moderating me. There are some really good legitimate criticisms of moderates. Number one, that they're cowards. And I think that that's true. And I think that a lot of the times that I can be a coward. I think there is times where you hold back your position on like politics or any sort of thing because you want to hear both sides and stuff like that. And then there's other times that you say that because you don't want to have an opinion on something. So I think Lex Friedman is a really good example of a moderate that I think intended well and has expressed it terribly.
Really good to see you back. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on things. BTW, you can't armpit pose with sleeves. JK. Andrew or Brixton on bridges when? 3 chat for the interrupt.
You should leave before the Civil War if you can. I've got a car. We can always just drive north. I've got 2 horses. We'll just ride. It'll be awesome. The $100 dono. That's true. Actually, if you donate $100 to me right now, Benji, I'll definitely be a socialist. I'm just kidding. But basically, I think there's a lot of problems with moderates' centrist position, which is that A, they're cowardly and they hide their lack of position or their fence sitting as kind of this like moral virtue, when I think a lot of the time, sometimes it is a moral virtue and sometimes it's cowardice. And
why are you still friends with Destiny if he hurt your friend Pixie? Thoughtful face emoji.
This guy, I'm getting so much money. And number 2, with the moderates, another really big issue is that what they'll do is they'll see bits of truth on both sides, because a lot of time two really large popular opinions have some merit to them. The problem is that that doesn't mean that they're equal, right? So I feel like Lex has done this a little bit with the Russia situation, although there might be things maybe going on behind the scenes that I'm not aware of, where he's like, well, Russia has some level of concern about NATO expansionism. And you're like, I mean, like, I suppose to some degree, right? There's been like this Cold War tension between NATO and Russia for a long time. And then you're like, and also Ukraine has a completely valid claim to sovereignty. And you're like, yes, that's also true. And he's like, see, both sides have a truth. And you're like, yeah, but they're not equal, right? Like they both have a truth, but that doesn't mean that they're equally like important, that they equally have the same size of truth claim or validity.
Redistributing the wealth one erudite at a time.
Thank you, Benji. Thank you for the $100 dono. Actually, never mind. I changed my mind. Liberals bad.
You can take the bird out of Berta, but you can't take the Berta out of the girl.
Liberals bad. Cut a liberal fascist bleed. We need to redistribute wealth through the government. I definitely trust the government to redistribute wealth properly and well. Okay. So anyways, increasingly my political position, I think, has shifted away from Stevens. And so for a number of reasons, we're not doing bridges together anymore. If people have like specific questions about my thoughts and feelings, we can. That's totally fine. It's okay to not have an opinion on something. Better that than strong beliefs while being uninformed. So that's not even like the moderate position. Like the moderate position doesn't have to be, I don't have an opinion. The issue is like, it's fine to say, I don't know because I'm not informed enough. I think the moderate criticism is to say, well, both sides have something true to them. So they're both equal. And it's like,
say liberal good though.
Liberals are good. Okay. Have I heard of Jason Brennan? I've not. I'd be super open. Oh, the bridges idea. I didn't even tell you guys. I just keep on like edging. Clearly I'm all over the place. In which ways have you shifted ideas?
Call you the sandwich.
This is crazy. I need to bump my TTS up. Thanks for all the money though. I appreciate it. In which way have you shifted ideas? I think scorched earth specifically. I think that there are, so for example, a lot of people, like when I watch Lex Friedman, I'm going to keep pounding on him. And just to be clear, I genuinely think that Lex had a really good intention in the world. I think he does broadly more good. I just think, especially this Russia-Ukraine stuff, I've been really, really, really disappointed with him. I don't really understand what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm using Lex as a like regular example, but this isn't to just like shit on Lex. But I think our society has done a really bad job at understanding how to do confrontation. Probably, I think, because we've lost our theory of violence to such a degree, right? Like most people will never be in violent situations. They don't have to deal with violence. They don't, and I'm speaking from this is me too. I don't really know what it means to have somebody threaten violence in a way that like my life feels under threat. I've come close, I guess, when like the kid was chasing me with an axe, but I was on a horse. Like I really wasn't that fearful because I really wasn't that much under threat, which is a whole story.
If you want to know why Trump won, watch A Star is Born, Dave Chappelle on Donald Trump.
Huh. And so I don't believe that scorched earth is the way to go. I think really strong boundaries about key principles is important. I think there are certain things that are intolerable. For example, I think the way that JD Vance handled the conversation with Zelensky was intolerable. I think it was unquestionably wrong. And I think a problem is that a lot of moderates will like want to hedge how they say it. It's like, no, it was just wrong. It was not okay. Zelensky had said thank you at the beginning of that conversation. It's like, it was obvious that he was just being, I don't even know. He was being something, and I was not impressed with it. Oh my gosh, the social streams is actually just killing me right now. Okay, I give up. You guys only get Twitch chat on the stream, apparently, which is good because I can't pull up my Twitch chat anymore now. There's a joke, but I'm not gonna make it. I was about to make a joke, but I'm not gonna make that joke. Problem is, Lex is just entirely too naive. He's like a hopeful child. I mean, I want to believe that like a 40-year-old PhD robotics guy with like a black belt in, um, what is it, jujitsu, isn't naive. Like, I want to believe that. I think that there are sometimes people who like, they choose tactical optimism. The problem is, I think what's happening with Russia and Ukraine is beyond tactical optimism. It feels, something seems just off about it. I don't really get what it is. The way that he was so aggressively critical of Zelensky, really weird.
More content around the economy of labor? In relationships? Labor being both emotional and physical. Love over politics less than 3.
Yeah, I plan to make just more content in general. Right now, I think the biggest thing that I failed at for the last year was because I had Progressive Victory money as like a stable income to rely on. I kind of just focused on that and building bridges, and I just kind of abandoned my own channel because the reality is that I think I saw my social media as just like a stepping platform. That's why fundamentally like Bridges was fine with me, because I didn't care that much about being like this big name. I was happy to help Steven out. I was hoping that it would turn into a media company. I was happy to try to legitimize him in like whatever way that he was interested in. And I knew that I could be a workhorse. And so I was just happy to offer that. And as a result, I neglected my own stream and channel because I social media has like never been this dream of mine in the way that it has for a lot of people. And so I'll play video games with you if you play only Ark.
Politics when there are victims to talk about.
No, it's not. I will time you out pretty soon because I have a feeling that you're not coming in good faith. But appreciate the $5. I'm not following this answer. That's fair. Did we keep spending money? So I guess going back to look how unclippable I am right now. It's not even on purpose. I'm just stupid. I think Wick TV handles moderate left presentation pretty well. Yeah, actually, I think he does. I don't know if he's in the chat right now, but I think he does a really good job of being like firm about certain things. And the problem with any small group of think is that the things that he might find like super hard, like Wick is very anti any form of political violence. I'm not, just to be clear. For example, the Luigi Mangione thing, I think he should be tried and charged and go to jail for his crimes. And I also don't think that what he did was like super wrong.
What's your economic policy on Xy's recordings?
Okay, yeah, you're just gonna get banned. Bye. So just came in. Are you still done completely with Destiny? From what he points out, seems like he didn't actually do anything reprehensible to me. Is a horror game, it'll be good. Trust me, in good faith, we need to game. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if I want to do a horror game with you. I do. Ryle Kittenhouse, I do appreciate the cash, but I don't think you're coming in good faith, and I feel like the cash can't be the reason that I break the rule for you and not for others. So if I'm nuking non-cash senders for bad faith, even if you send cash, you should probably get nuked for being bad faith and not coming in like any good intentions. But what did that CEO do specifically? We don't need to get into Luigi Mangione. We can someday, but I'm just going to give you all of my hot takes. I'm going to drop them. I'm going to let everyone mauled really hard. And then I'll be back tomorrow and we can just talk again tomorrow. Did I miss you? You didn't think that what Migietta did was wrong? No, it was wrong. It was just also... It's tolerable based on the information and understanding that I have health insurance,
How are you
but I could be moved.
Beliefs pertaining to international politics in comparison to Destiny? I would argue that his approach to the issue is on point, but his moral choices are terrible.
I don't know about international politics. I think geopolitically we're probably still really alike. Like I'm pretty harsh against like Russia, China, like all that stuff. It's probably going to be more domestic politics where we differ, and it's mostly going to be our approach. I don't believe in the scorched earth approach.
As a Canadian, soon to be a U.S. citizen if Trump keeps up with 51st state thing, lol. Trump pissed off me with the anti-Ukraine after how much they fight.
Yeah, the anti-Ukraine stuff I think is a really hard line for me. And I think what I'm trying to do with my political positions is figure out what my hard lines are, because I think if you're going to be center left, there's always that question of like, well, what's okay and why is it not? And you have to have an answer for these questions. You like must. And so I need to figure out what my answers are for those. So I'm very blessed by a friend who's got a PhD in political philosophy. I'm sure I'm butchering what his PhD is. The worst thing about like PhDs is like you get like a bachelor's in like biology, and then you go to PhD and you're like, oh, they have like a PhD in biology. They're like, actually, I have a PhD in the mRNA receptacles of specific eukaryotes when they interact with archaeans. And you're like, so biology? And they're like, no, actually, I'm not an expert on anything but archaeans. And you're like, okay, bro, you are an expert on biology. Shut the fuck up. Are you in support of political violence, as in stuff like Euromaidan in Ukraine, just revolution of government? I don't think my position on political violence is fully fleshed out. I need to think about it more. But like, for example, I'm pro the American Revolution. I think the American Revolution was good. And it can't, my answer for why the revolution was good can't basically come down to, because I feel like when I ask a lot of people, like when they're like opposed to the Luigi Mangione, when I'm like, well, why are we support of the American Revolution? They typically have some level of reason, but some people go, well, like that was a really long time ago. And it's like, well, a long time ago can't be the reason why political violence is justified, because then maybe my political violence will just be justified in 200 years from now. Like that's not a good reason. Didn't know asking questions was against the terms of service. What?
I'm going to start working on being less white.
Oh, there's a bunch of words that are banned. That's probably what you're running into. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Just so you know, most of Eastern Europe is also fed up with Zelensky. He is dragging on the war. I don't care. I think it's super fair for other states potentially to have certain feelings, but at the end of the day, when like a country's been invaded and their sovereignty is at question, and they were invaded in 2014 and nobody cared, and then they were reinvaded, I'm sorry, I'm just pretty staunch like pro sovereignty. I think the reason why Ukraine wants sovereignty from Russia has like pretty well documented 100 years of reasoning as to why. So I'm just not super sympathetic to that claim. I think it's fair. I think it's fair for other European countries to maybe feel some sort of way. I don't know if you're right about that. That just doesn't move me on this position. Do you condone the political violence of mods banning chatters? No, I stand by my mods. In fact, I told them to be a little ban happy for people that are like clearly just coming in to be nasty. Thank you, Daru DeWote. What even was Luigi's motivation? I feel like just a lot of people overlay their own legend. Well, his was about the health insurance industry specifically, and just how it seems like it predates on unhealthy people. It, you could argue maybe colludes with, it does stuff to the price of healthcare goods that is extremely problematic, and you're now required to have it.
But you look so damn good in that outfit. I don't agree with many of your political takes, but you deserve to be worshipped SMH.
Weird. We're getting the gooners. All the Amaranth streams are paying off, I guess. How have I been coping with your stress and negative mental state? I have 3 horses. I used to have 4. I just rehomed one, and I ride a lot, which has been very good for me. You can't see her. Freya, why do you lay here? They want to see you. This is like the worst spot for you to be. But my dog, can't really see her. I have an amazing husband, and I actually had to go off of SSRIs. Oh man, I've been jumping everywhere. I didn't even finish telling you guys the Kelly Jean story. I have a cat, if that helps at all. It does. Cat boys, big ups. I've always had very good experiences with cat boys. Somebody's gonna be like, did you know that this person's a cat boy? And I'm gonna be like, no. No. But yeah, boys who love cats, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I have cat energy, but I always have great experiences with boys who love cats. Okay, I've always dated men who love cats. Nick is obsessed with cats. My ex was also obsessed with cats. I'm kind of lost. What happened? If you don't know, to be honest, there's other channels to go for it. I'm still in the US. Okay. There was a Kelly Jean story. Okay, so after my Dr. K episode came out, in the Dr. K episode, I talked about having acid tears because sometimes when my like eyes like run or whatever at night, I'll have like debris and damage. She just wants to be with me, I think. She's like, Mom's upset, so I'm gonna help her. Anyways, it would like burn my skin a little bit. And then Kelly Jean heard that, Dr. Kelly Jean, to you guys and me, and was like, what are your other symptoms? And so I like told her, like, I have dry eyes, obviously, all the time. I have a really dry mouth, dry skin. Like, I have to lotion every day. And she was like, have you ever heard of Sjogren's disease? And I was like, no. And then I told my friend later, who was like a pre-med student, and he's like, I literally suggested Sjogren's to you like 2 years ago. Anyways, Sjogren's disease is an autoimmune disorder that's progressive. So when she suggested it to me, I basically contacted a doctor and did all the testing. There's like a mouth swab and a blood test that you do. And I was confirmed and accepted into a clinical trial, actually, that's local, for treating Sjogren's disease. I'm like one of the youngest patients that they have diagnosed. Apparently, it's usually diagnosed really late in life, which tells you like the level of like severity. Like it's not this like super like life ending. Most people have a very normal lifetime. It's just obnoxious. Everything's dry all the time. Like my eyes are kind of itchy like right now. So yeah, Kelly Jean was right. Kelly, after, I'm not telling you, I've been trying to figure out what my autoimmune disorder or like what my mystery dryness disorder has been for like 10 years. And then Dr. Kelly Jean diagnosed me correctly. Crazy. So yeah, so I got diagnosed in January when all this stuff was happening at the same time. So it was a super fun
How
January.
mad are you going to be if you put in all that work to come to the USA when you could have just waited for Trump to take over to get citizenship? Lol.
I mean, not that mad. I'm really, really blessed and lucky to be here. Like I said, I have horses. Just like the humidity and environment has been way better for like my health issues. Bro, Kelly Jean be your hero was crazy. Yeah, my health hero. Yeah, Kelly Jean is my health hero. For sure. Kelly Jean saved Destiny's secretary. If I was Destiny's secretary, I would have a lot more money in my account. Okay? I would actually like have a solid income. Kelly hates you now because of that just like buzzkill. Maybe. All I can hope is that like as more truth comes out, people will be like, oh,
If you haven't already,
we
you
were
should check
wrong.
Sarah Payne. Her
Yeah, I know.
explanation of continental versus maritime power really solidified the case for defending Ukraine. Nemo.
I have had, I'm not even joking, probably 12 different people ask me about Sarah Payne. I have reached out to her. She was on sabbatical for a while. And now she's just not sure about traveling. So I think with my new model of bridges, which I still haven't told you guys about, I just keep edging it. I think it's a possibility. Just so you guys know, I'm just going to say it now. The new model of bridges is basically I am going to do rotating co-hosts and rotating guests. So for example, I'm going to go to Ben Jordan's place where he lives. Bridges will pay to fly guests in, whatever.
Feel free to ignore this if inappropriate. What will your relationship be with Destiny?
I think we'll just kind of remain friends. Yeah, for now. That's kind of all I see. I think he's just planning to stream. And if I have a show on bridges and he's going scorched earth, I think that'll be a difficult collab to make, but we'll see. So anyways, I'm going to go to people's studios. I will fly in guests that are of mutual interest. So Ben is very interested in neuropsych. He does a lot of music. So we're going to try to bring on somebody who does music and stuff. And ideally, he's actually interested a lot right now in politics. So he's got a couple of political people he's interested in. So I kind of talk with them about the guests that they would really like to talk to. So basically, large kind of established YouTuber friends that I have who don't have a podcast, but a lot of people are interested in interviewing people. It's just the algorithm on YouTube really punishes if you have any variance in your content, including variance in like time. So if you start doing 40-minute episodes, if you put out an episode that's 20 minutes long, you're fucked. You're just actually fucked. You just won't be seen. And so a lot of people who want to do interviews that are like larger YouTubers, just they can't get the eyes on it because the algorithm just punishes them, and it can punish your future regular content. So a lot of people are very not inclined towards it. However, on Bridges, they can just be a co-host for like 3 episodes with me. I'll fly in the guests. They get a chance to be on podcast. They're allowed to obviously promote and use the videos as well. And then I get rotating co-hosts. So I'm going to have Ben. I've already got Milo and Flint. They're going to come back and do some co-hosting stuff with me. Mr. Beat has agreed to do co-hosting. And Kyla Scanlon is also interested in doing co-hosting. So I've already got a number of co-hosts, which will each co-host will result in at least 2 to 3 episodes. And we're just going to kind of keep going from there. So Sarah Payne is definitely on the list. In the midst of actually all this stuff, weirdly enough, Modern Day Wisdom, Chris Williamson reached out. And so he sounds like he's interested in collabing with me. Because that's going to be one of the Bridges shows. Another thing that I'd like to pull back in onto Bridges would be the humanizing, because if you stream on your YouTube channel, it doesn't affect your algorithm. So I'm going to probably do humanizing episodes. They'll be streamed. They'll be online only. But we'll just move humanizing to Bridges and it'll be streamed. And then another show that I'm planning to do is going to be like a why do you believe what you believe? It'll probably also be on Bridges. Might get a new channel. So basically, I'm going to move Bridges a lot more towards being like a media conglomerate. And there's going to be a bunch of kind of smaller shows that are branching off of it. So there's the Bridges main channel, but I'm also starting a couple of podcasts. I just recorded my first episode of a new podcast. And then there's a couple of people I know that want to start a podcast that might put it on my thing. So all the content that Bridges Studio makes will be on our Patreon, but there'll probably be a whole bunch of different avenues, both podcast and video. Mr. Beat, not Mr. Beast.
It's not scorched earth or buddy buddy. The left needs to find what makes them attractive. Stop worrying about the other side.
That's a really good point. I'm actually going to a meeting next week to kind of talk with different political people about that. So if you guys have any ideas about what makes liberals attractive, let me know, because I feel like we don't know. Is Destiny interested in being one of the co-hosts? I haven't asked Destiny about being one of the co-hosts at this point in time. And because you're totally fine to post questions. As long as questions are coming in good faith, I'm happy to have them. She sounds like Ben Shapiro. Okay. I love getting compared to just like really strong speakers and debaters. It's just like, okay, sweet. Thank you. If Trump invades Canada, how are you realistically responding in that situation? Staying put here in the US or returning to Alberta to defend your homeland? We'd probably go home. Nick would probably want to enlist. I don't know though. Nick! He's probably watching. He'll probably hear in a bit. It'd probably be up to Nick. If he wants to enlist, then I would go home and support him in that. Yeah. But I don't know. Nick might be like, nah, let's just vote to join the US. I don't know. I don't think US invading in Canada is very likely. I'd put it like less than 1% for sure. I think that would be pretty crazy. If America invaded Canada, would you go home to enlist to protect our sovereignty?
No.
Really?
No. If
You think it would be okay if the US tried to take Canadian sovereignty? Like at all?
No.
Oh, damn.
If
That's crazy.
If I thought the United States had become like a Russia.
What if it was JD Vance? Okay, Trump has died.
Wait, hold on.
Nick hates JD Vance like a lot.
If JD Vance is president, then yeah, and he invades Canada, yes, I'm invading.
Okay, if JD Vance is the president, Nick will enlist. If he invades Canada.
If I thought the US was like endangering.
Hey, Erudite big fan, what are your thoughts on the fresh and fit interview you and Amaranth looking back? I was surprised on how much she agreed with them.
Ooh, spicy. Yeah, I was also surprised. I don't brand myself the same way Ammo does. I don't really get it. So I was surprised by her like siding with them a lot, but also I don't know, it might be like a purely like like she might even just own it, being like, oh no, it's just business smart to side with them, because then all of those viewers who I know pay for OnlyFans and stuff will just come over to my OnlyFans because they think I agree with them, and I don't give a fuck. That might be like her perspective. Do I think that that's like a morally good thing? Not really, but also like, I don't know. And the like scope of like good and bad like behaviors on the platform, it's probably not the best, but she's not a political streamer.
All this work you're doing, what do you wish to accomplish before you die?
Leave the world a better place than I found it.
You and Myron had synergy would do future work?
Yeah, it's tough going on Fresh and Fit. I feel like last time I went on Fresh and Fit, they enjoyed like the conversation more, whereas this time Myron really enjoyed the conversation, but Fresh was like super pissy, it seemed, by the end. He also could have just maybe been tired. I think they were traveling the next day, so maybe he was just annoyed at the length it was going on. So I'd have to see. Like, I got chastised a fair bit by Chris and Fresh a little bit afterwards for being like, you just talk so much. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could work on brevity, but also like it was a pretty good back and forth. So I don't know. Is there still a chance of flying over and interviewing Ukrainian Anna? I would love to. I don't know if I'm going to have the money for that for a long time. Because Bridges was not making a lot of money before all this fell apart. And now I'm expecting, obviously, a pretty major drop in views for a while and having to rebuild a lot. So I'm going to need to be pretty financially savvy for the next year, probably. Yeah, so I guess I would love to go to see Ukrainian Anna. We're going to need to financially pick it up. I unfortunately am like a great networker and a terrible businesswoman. This is crazy. I like my YouTube is completely timed out right now. So if you want to see and support me anywhere, obviously I'm going to try to stream more often. Patreon, specifically probably the Bridges Patreon, will have the most content. My Patreon will try to like revive and bring back a little bit more. I post like horse and cat videos for the most part. Like my personal Patreon it's if you like cat videos and horse and dog videos, you're gonna fucking love it. You'll adore it. I think I just
Does Destiny's vitriol and victim blaming not change anything for you?
I don't know what not changing means, because initially I was doing Bridges with him and now we're not. So like, what does that mean? Like, what further changing are we looking for specifically? Because I feel like the answer seems kind of self-evident, if I'm being honest. Just do a 6-hour stream like Andrew did last night and raise 12K. I've got nothing to say, okay? No words. If that, like, at the end of the day, if people want to spend their money on their favorite streamer, they're allowed to, and it's not bad if the streamer gets the money. I don't know. I might put my money elsewhere, but whatever. Would you consider working with Atrioc? Probably.
Glad to see you streaming again. I've missed how you think about things in general.
Aww.
I like being challenged in that area. Also, thoughts about renaming Bridges to something more apt?
I like Bridges.
You floated potential future collaboration.
Yeah, I don't believe in canceling people, so like, unless basically you're telling me that like if you personally think that Destiny should be canceled on all platforms everywhere and nobody should ever engage with him, I think that that's a reasonable position to take if you're for canceling. I'm just not. I've never been for canceling, and I disagree. I don't think that he should be canceled cross-platform, and I don't think it's bad if people want to engage with him in the future. So it is possible that there will be a future collaboration. There isn't anything in the works or plans right now. But I do message him pretty often and check in and see if he's like doing okay. Same with Pixie, although with Pixie, with like, I think she's been struggling a lot in some of the legal stuff. It's more like I support her through kind of more of her support network, which she has a really solid support network. They've been really loving on her well. And like letting me know if they need anything or anything. So I've been super critical of your friendship with Destiny. It's a breath of fresh air having you back. I've missed you and your unique perspective. Thanks, Stephanie. I appreciate that. See, that is a super good faith critique. You can say, I'm critical of these things. I don't appreciate them. And then also engage with me. Thank you. I genuinely, ugh, it's crazy. You have no idea how much that means to me. Who else would you like to humanize? I want to do Sneeko again, actually. That would be super fun.
You're fuller chested today, sweet pear. You on cycle?
That's so weird. Thanks for the $2. So weird, though. There's also the lawsuit affect your opinion of the people involved. Probably. The problem is that like there's lots of stuff that I know because I'm talking to both sides privately that you guys don't know.
Good faith critique. You smell. Miss you. Thoughts.
And there's also, right, there's also stuff that I don't know. There's lots of stuff I'm sure that I don't know. So there's a certain level of information that I'm just like waiting on, which is why, like, unfortunately, like the rest of us, there's a fair bit that you have to wait until the lawsuit comes out. But yeah, of course, I've always said from the beginning, new information can just update my position. Anyone you would never humanize? I won't humanize somebody who I think will try to use it as a stunt for exclusively PR, and I think will lie to me the whole time. So like JF at one point reached out to be humanized, and I didn't believe him that he wouldn't lie to me. Nick Fuentes is also somebody that I wouldn't be surprised would lie to me. I think Keffels is also one of those people. Although when Keffels is doing better, like Keffels is complicated because I think a large portion of some of the behavior that you see from Keffels is very tied to her relapse cycle. If she was like in a really sober spot for like a year, I'd probably be more open to it, depending on like how she was doing. Why would you want to be filmed in the first place? Narcissism or self-hatred? I feel like those are the only two answers, right? Why does Sneeko fascinate you so much? Because he is nothing like any of the idealizing alpha male stuff that he like propagates. Like he's like this artsy comedic guy who's always been friends with like girls and guys and like kind of just like a normal class clown kid who was artsy. And then he got like really into this weird thing.
An integral part of Destiny's Manifesto?
Destiny's Manifesto, at that point it had already been leaked. Was I okay with like it getting leaked in the first place? Like, no, obviously not. But I feel like by the time it's leaked, I'm not going to be mad at like the fourth person who's leaking it. There's no point. I'm only mad at the first person. Please don't humanize JF. I wouldn't trust him not to lie to me. So back. Do you think Lex having huge negative impact on Ukraine versus minor impact elsewhere is similar to how you compared Russia? Secondary concerns versus I'm not sure I'm seeing the through line that you're drawing. I apologize. That's no humanizing anyone. If you're labeling someone for filming something, then you're not actually trying to understand them. Okay. I guess don't watch them.
Or like a serial killer?
I would need to think about how I do that, because I think there are certain things that make somebody human and understandable, but it doesn't make certain behaviors excusable, right? And so like it's going to be important to me no matter what, when the humanizing is being done, that the takeaway isn't, so say I did a humanizing, Lauren Southern would be a great one. That doesn't mean that the walkway should be, oh, all that like shitty stuff that she did or like didn't do or whatever. That's all fine now. It's like that's not true.
And I trust your opinion on this. Is Destiny redeemable?
Everyone is redeemable if they choose to be. Simply enough. You mentioned comparing Russia's security concerns versus Ukraine's sovereignty is wrong because one obviously has a lot more weight. Oh, I'm not saying comparing them. I'm saying when you're looking at both sides that have truth claims, the moderate thinking failure is to go, well, there's truth on both sides. So, both sides have validity. And it's like, hold on. These are not equally valid.
Attempting to dox JSTLK?
Doxing is bad. You should not dox people. Hopefully that's obvious. Anyone else want to ask me how I feel about like murder, genocide? All not good. Don't do bad things. Brave take, I know. Everyone is not redeemable. You make Lex Friedman look like a pessimist. Why does Lex Friedman not think everyone's redeemable? That would be crazy.
In retrospect, do you think Destiny should have introduced professional arbitration sooner?
Hindsight with how everything played out, yeah. I don't know if it would have been reasonable to know that at the time, though. Do you actually believe everyone is redeemable? What about the people who are actual psychopaths, like rip people apart and eat them? I basically would say like somebody who's like actually that psychopathic, there's probably some sort of like brain thing going on. And so then in my mind, like redeemable with our technology, no, but I could I can see a future where we figure out where in the brain psychopathy is occurring and it could be corrected for and treated like a disease.
Genocide?
Genocide is also not good. Don't prefer it. Thank you. No, because Lex Freeman literally thinks Zelensky can just forgive Putin with no apology. The issue is Lex is right to some degree. Forgiveness isn't about the apology, right? Because forgiveness is about like letting yourself go. The problem is that when somebody is actively still invading your country and killing your people and like working now to like seed misinformation about your country to continue to like invade and steal your land, like even if you exist in a state of forgiveness, you also have to fundamentally treat that like source of evil as like a coyote that you are chasing away from you, like your house. Like you have to be like, get out, like with all vigilance and aggression, right? And so it's like, Lex is right about forgiveness. It's the timing, right? It's not really pertinent for Zelensky to forgive Putin right now. That's like a 2 years later kind of thing, like when peace has been achieved. I think it's very insensitive. That would be like me going to like a victim of like a family whose like daughter has been murdered and being like, before like the person's even been put on trial, being like, yeah, and they're like talking negatively about the murderer. I mean, like, but shouldn't you forgive him? And you're like, you know, regardless of an apology, it's like, first of all, the apology doesn't matter if it's forgiveness. Second of all, let's get the guy in jail first. Then we can work on like the forgiveness and stuff. A content idea you haven't done, something like this already, detail how you process information and assimilate that into your worldview. All right, anyone want to buckle up for a boring stream? Very boringly, I do a lot of reading, and then I wrestle with the ideas back and forth with Nick. I feel so bad for Twitch chat. I hope Trump comes through with his threats to sanction Putin. Bro, the fact that has he even done tariffs on Russia yet? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Why is Destiny no longer on Bridges if you're still friends? A number of reasons. Number one, Bridges was aimed to legitimize him. He seems to be stepping away from that. Number two, I was not very impressed with the way that he's publicly handled a lot of stuff. And I think it goes counter to any belief in legitimizing or forgiveness or anything that I value. And third, it seems like he's also kind of stepping away from that stuff. Oh, and I guess fourth,
spoke quite highly of you and respects you.
Yeah, I appreciate. Myron is, when I was prepping. So when Amaranth was going to go on, her and her assistant were asking me like, what should we expect? What do they like? And Myron is one of these interesting people where like basically everything in his worldview, I strongly disagree with. I think is just bad for the world. I think it's deeply harmful for people. And yet he's quite a principled person. For example, if you come to him and engage in like good faith and you're not nasty towards him, he'll just engage back. He never really goes for like these crazy gotchas. Sometimes he'll try to like wiggle out of uncomfortable questions in like shitty, like stupid ways. But to be honest, like he just won't come at you if you're being decently reasonable with him and you like have conferred some level of respect. The problem is that most women entering that space start at like -10 respect for him, and he feels okay being really shitty to those people, which I think is wrong, in case you're wondering. Yeah, he's like this weirdly like principled person who I think is like overall probably doing nothing but negative things for the world. Other than I guess like telling like men to like work out and get out of their house and like clean themselves and stuff. Like yeah. Destiny time to dox just like Anne Queeman. Yes, that is wrong. Thank you. Like some people are here to just be nasty to me and there's nothing I can do about that. But some people are angry because they've been misinformed, and I would love to clarify that. So like I'm okay with the anger as long as they give me a space to like correct some of that information. And then some people are going to be like diehard for me no matter what I do, which is probably not good. And then other people are like, what the fuck is she talking about? So I'm just trying to figure out which camp people are in and engage with them on those levels. Because if you're in like the no matter what I say, I'm evil, you probably shouldn't be in my chat. There's no benefit mutually. So I think the biggest problem that I've had on my like social media presence is I've not really been around for 2 years, so people don't really know who I am. And I tend not to show all the parts of me very well. So people don't know my like softer, more like insecure parts or my like indecisive parts. And so I think they have a character of me in their mind that I think a lot of people maybe feel betrayed by with the recent stuff, which is understandable because it's fundamentally my error for not allowing them to know me more, because I think it's hard actually to get to know me unless you like watch my rare streams very often, which I just like wouldn't expect anyone to do. So yeah, you have to fight PS at the iDubbbz boxing event. He'd kill me. He'd kill me. I'm so fragile. I look so tough. I love to dress tough. Okay, pro tip, any girl that dresses really tough, she's fragile, okay? She's a little softy, she's a little squishy. You know, she could take it, she's, you know, she rolls with the punches, but she's a squishy little kitten underneath there, okay? Does your work as an addiction counselor affect your perspective on redemption? I mean, fundamentally. I think actually one of the things that was really helpful is I talked to Willie Mack a fair bit, and he helped me realize that I take for granted a lot of my like predispositions around mental health that I'll like talk about in like quick ways, and people be like make a lot of assessments about me when they have like no idea what I'm even talking about. But I think I have a very deeply trauma-informed approach to like life and the way that I engage with other people. And obviously don't work in addictions if you don't believe that people can be redeemed, right? People who have done really, really bad shit can be redeemed, right? Like, yeah. I mean, I've worked with, people probably don't maybe know this about me. I worked in a young sex offender wing. So basically teens who are predating on very young children, that when those teens are 18, they will be listed as pedophiles. So they're not pedophiles yet, technically, because they're like under 18. Period. It's terrible. If you go back to the beginning of the stream, well, I guess like the pre-one, because it's broken up a little bit, I definitely had like 2 mini panic attacks before going live, and I told myself, you just got to go live. You just have to do it. Like, buckle up and do it. My mental health has been actually genuinely horrible. That's basically why you haven't seen me streaming or making content, is I haven't been able to. Yeah. Am I open to studying other religions? Yeah, I've looked into them a fair bit. I don't think studying other religions at this point would like convince me to change my religion, if that's like what the question is. What about Hitler? I mean,
some people don't need a camp. I consider myself an old guard liberal, and you, Kyla, have always been one of the bridging voices on the left, from my POV, but most people these days would call me far right.
Interesting. I don't need a camp, old guard liberal, but most people call me far right. That makes me be like, are you actually far right, or are you just like center right? Because it could be either. My religion beast is Christian, but I'm like I'm like the Christian other Christians won't own. I'm a branch. I have like a theological branch that I probably closely align with, which is called radical orthodoxy. It's extremely niche. It's great though. It's really cool. It's really cool. If you're like into liberal Christianity, if you're tired of fundamentalists, if you're in North America, your experience of Christianity is dominantly going to be fundamental Protestantism. And I'm a Protestant technically because I'm protesting to the Catholic Church, but no fundamental Christian would own my positions. They would not like them, which is okay. I could be wrong, right? That's the one of the key things. Just to be clear, I could be wrong. This is just like, these are the theological conclusions I've arrived at through exegesis, eisegesis, and divine revelation. And I'm doing my best. And if I'm wrong, I've only got God to be. I will have God to be accounted for. And so, yeah. What happened with your mental health? Oh, all the Bridges drama, all the stuff with Destiny and all the harassment that came out of it. Like on my end, there was a lot of, I would say, misinformation spread about me. Lots of different versions of what I did wrong. It's changed a lot. And so it just led to like a lot of personal attacks. It's led to lots of friends kind of backstabbing me, or just some backstabbing me, very rare. Others just, very few people reached out to like hear my side at all and like see if any claims being made about me were valid or not. Like basically none. I am not in an open relationship, no. Were you born with your faith, or was it something you discovered later? I was born into a fundamentalist Christian faith. Yeah, my parents converted, I think, when I was 3. So basically born into it. Why are you not Catholic? Because I'm protesting the Catholic Church. Why are you protesting the Catholic Church? I basically think that they have in many ways lost the way, basically since like since way back, like maybe Augustine. I think the Catholic Church became very bent on political connection to the church, which I think is very, very bad. Yeah. The space is very shitty in a lot of ways. Yeah, Twitch poll I think is uniquely shitty. It's always fun when I get to meet with like my much larger YouTuber friends, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm like going through this like hate wave, like, you know, this and this happened. And then I'll be like, oh yeah, that really sucks. And they'll be like, yeah, have you ever experienced anything like that? And I'll tell them about like my first President Sunday adventure like 2 years back. And they'll be like, holy shit. Like people were calling your college? And I'm like, yep. And they're like, damn, okay. Like the Twitch poll space specifically is like, I think uniquely toxic. Thanks, Nathiest. I appreciate it. So you don't think there is one true objective religion? No, I think I do, right? Like to be a Christian, you're basically saying that I'm X-naying the others. I would just say I don't exactly want to comment on who goes to heaven or not, because that feels a little bit above my pay grade.
Emo, you're too charitable to Lex. He's either a paid Russian shill, or a M0R0N, or both. Even on non-political topics his questions are very shallow.
Yeah, maybe. The issue is that, like, what if there's something else going on behind the scenes? So, for example, what if he's way more critical of Russia? He just knows that, like, Putin is such a, like, basically, like, reactive animal that if he's critical of him in any way, there'll be no chance of, like, bringing him to the peace board. And he's trying to bridge it to some degree to, like, see a resolution. And I do think that Lex believes that, like, it has to end now, that there just isn't any hope for Ukraine. And I think that that's wrong. And it's also wrong of him to be presumptive. But I don't see him as a moron. But yeah, maybe I'm too charitable. I just think a lot of times when you're in, like, the size, shape, and scope of power that he suddenly has access to, I think we all make a lot of critical analysis of how we would act without a lot of information. And I'll say this while also saying, and I wholly disagree with how he's approaching Ukraine and Russia. I think it's incredibly insensitive. I think he's being way more sensitive to Russia than to Ukraine. And I think that that's wrong. And I don't entirely know why he's doing that, because my understanding is he is Ukrainian or like born in Ukraine or something like that. Would you be running future PV events? No, I think PV's over. Like, it's like I stepped away from PV in October. That was like my last month there. So I haven't really kept up on it, but I don't even know if it's operating right now. I'm not sure. Thinking political violence is fine when it's only the realistic option. Yeah. I think the important thing to remember about political violence is it's never something to celebrate in. Like, political violence occurring is always and must always be held as a tragedy. Putin has nukes. If Russia nuked Ukraine, we couldn't do shit about it. We have to respect their part of their world in 2025 with nukes differentially than we did at the end of World War II. Yeah, that's possible. It's also possible that I think Lex is thinking about this incorrectly and he's putting too much weight on Russia's claims for some reason. I don't know. The other side of that coin is, what if Lex actually...
Your passion project to help with troubled boys is fascinating. What advice would you give the boys in regards to dealing with girls who have more?
Who have more? I feel like that got cut off. Who have more money. Abba on bridges. I don't know if Abba would want to go on bridges. I just, mostly because, like, Bridges is a little bit more of like an intellectual podcast, and I've asked him about it before, and he's like, what the fuck am I going to talk about on Bridges? He's like, I'm like a comedian who does like very bottom brow YouTube. Like, what am I going to talk about? So he doesn't seem super keen. notsoErudite, he was born in Soviet Tajikistan and grew up in Moscow. Okay, gotcha. So that even could be biasing him more towards Russia, is that he grew up in Moscow and maybe has like fond memories of it. A young sex offender of what?
Can you tell Fresh to shut up when he interrupts you? Myron was getting annoyed when they were calling you boring. He likes high IQ convos.
You know what I would never do on Fresh and Fit is tell one of the hosts to shut up. I feel like that's a guaranteed way to get kicked off the show immediately. The reality is, like, if Myron's enjoying it, he stood up for me. Like, there's the clip that I have where he's like, choose out Chris and Fresh being like, what the fuck, man? Like, you always say that you want interesting women. We finally have one, and now you're complaining.
Leverages early on in life.
Man, you know what has been weird? Going to America and going to like dance bars, like nightclubs. Woof. Rough. Nobody dances. Nobody talks. Literally the worst. I've been to so many different clubs in so many different cities across America. Genuinely, the only good experiences I've had have been in Texas, because I don't know what's going on in the Texas water, but y'all are charismatic as fuck. It's crazy. Yeah, third spaces are getting really, really tough. Not good. I think it would still be the same. Clubs, groups. A lot of people are like joining clubs and groups. Working a lot more on cold approach. People are so lonely that if you're like cool and interesting, a lot of people want to spend time with you. And this is definitely one of the more unique. Fuck, it's gone. Okay, it was a compliment anyways. Beast, I forgot the context. Something about something someone brought up. Hitler, I don't know, it was like 10 minutes ago. Sorry. I wish my Twitch chat was working better. I could pull it out. Doesn't all Bridges drama feel so annoyingly high school? Not to downplay the leaks, but Abba's take feels the most based. Here's the thing. I think when I hear people say it's also high school, what I hear is that these people are probably looking at a situation that for them probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. Probably because in large part, you've had maybe more significant events happen to you. And I always go back to, I think one of the worst things that we can do when we look at somebody's like trauma and like horrible experiences, which this was just a trauma for Pixie. This was just horrible. It was horrible for Pixie. I think the worst thing we can do is look at that and go, well, that wouldn't bother me that much. And it's like, that doesn't, okay. That's like, it's unironically doing the like, well, there's kids starving in Africa. It's like, okay, then send them my fucking food. What do you want me to do? Like, what? Who cares? That's not relevant to my experience, right? If it's distressing to you for whatever reason, like me being distressed about streaming is fucking pathetic, okay? And also a very real battle that I have. So I don't really like doing this like, it's just high school, it's just silly, petty stuff. Because I think at the end of the day, people's experiences with hurts matter. And there isn't really an important grading that we need to do. I think the way that it's been handled by a lot of third parties has been really unfortunate. Super, super unfortunate. I'm really sad at Sunday forcing Pixie before she was ready to like move forward on anything. I think that really, really sucks. It was just like an extra betrayal on top of betrayal for her. And that was really, really bad. I don't know. It was like the worst. The real situation with Bridges is that the people most affected by it, every single one of them has come out just worse for wear. There isn't a good story. The only people who've like benefited from this at all, to be honest, are like people covering the drama for money and content. Those are the only people benefiting at this point, which is sad. That's really, really, really shitty. Is Sunday redeemable? Yeah, probably. But his victims are never required to do the redeeming, just to be clear. This is why, for example, I might hold a space of redemption for one of my addicts who've done a behavior, like abusing their children. I don't hold their children to like having the forgiveness and space for their abusive parent that I, as a third party, might have, right? Like, obviously. I'd say Sunday isn't redeemable myself. I don't know. I think he's got like maybe a drinking problem. I think when you like have addiction and stuff like that, it like really warps your mind. I don't know. This whole process, I was so angry for a while. And then I just hit this wall of being like, I actually don't have it in me to hate anyone anymore. And I just need to forgive people. And some people will never forgive me. Some people won't forgive me for things that I've never done. Some people won't forgive me for things I have.
Emmy Van Duren, existential therapy.
I do, in general, have an opinion on existential. I don't know Emmy Van Duren. I'm more familiar with like Yalom. So I guess that's like more of a North American, version of existential therapy. But all of the group sessions that I ran, like at the addiction treatment center, it was an existential group therapy module that I used by Yalom specifically, because that's what I was trained in. So I love it. I counseled people like professionally for about 1.5 years, individually. And then I also got to do group therapy afterwards for like an additional 8 months, I think. Best therapy I've ever delivered. Amazing. I love existential group therapy. It is so powerful. And the lack of utilization of group therapy in general in the mental health industry is such a missed opportunity. Speaking of third spaces, you can meet your honey at group therapy. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. People forgiving or not forgiving you, Kyla. Oh. I think the problem is that depending on who you get your information from, and if you're not being critical, or if you don't know me very well, or if you might even have certain, just like if you believe in canceling people, you might be really angry at me for not wanting to cancel Stephen, for example. You can forgive me or not. It's kind of up to you. Sorry, there's a bug. How do I feel about homeschooling?
1% of your subs watching count your wins Steam M.
That's true. Oh, I didn't even notice my view count. Yeah, but you have to remember, there's a good chance that like 200 of the viewers are people who are just like clipping me potential. That's not true. It's probably like 10. It's probably like 10. That's true. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm being negative. Thank you. Good call. Forgiveness depends on the person. There's a lot of people out there that the rest of us would be better off without, like objectively. The issue is that forgiveness doesn't mean like inviting that person back into your life, right? So, even people that like I've been victimized by, that I won't go into detail about, but did like, in some cases, I've had like people do criminal actions against me.
I appreciate Joseph Campbell and his spiritualism. He wrote a lot about mythology and religion.
I do like Joseph Campbell. Yeah, I'm familiar. So like talking about forgiveness, for example, I've had people do crimes against me. This is pre-streaming. This is years ago. So if you're like, is it this? Is it this? You have no idea. I've never talked about it, and I wouldn't ever give names. I was specifically when Pixie suddenly changed her to wanting to punish Steven. Well, that's not why I stepped away. I stepped away because once she was resolute on specifically wanting money, which I told her the whole time, I support her to make any decision on resolution that she wanted. But once she decided specifically, I actually want money, I knew that I wasn't the person to be like mediating and in between that. That's why I said, that's fine. I support that, but like, I'm not super comfortable with it. And she said, that's okay. Can I use the screenshot to approach him? And I said, yes, of course. Because I knew that it should be between her, him, and that probably that they would get a lawyer involved. Which unfortunately did not occur, but yeah. Tori Mado. That's a cute name. I don't know why people think you had to somehow remain that negotiator. Well, most people were mad that most people originally just said that I was trying to get Pixie to be silent for money because they just like took President Sunday and Aaron's narrative. I don't even know. I think they took President Sunday's narrative and then they like never went. There's only 6 screenshots here. Is there any more? Because if they just got like one more screenshot, they would say I explicitly refused to be a financial negotiator. So most people were really mad because they thought I was trying to negotiate an amount for Pixie to try to silence her, which never also occurred, by the way. Erudite fell off a horse. Genuinely, I fell off, okay? My head and my body, my head went like this. It hit the dirt first, and then my body snapped on top of it. I pinched C1, C6, and C7, I believe. And obviously got a concussion. And my, like, suboccipital spinal disc
How do you
here
gain motivation
deviated.
to lose weight?
Today you overcame a panic attack. True. Yeah, lifted it. You didn't say that at the start of my stream. I was crying a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Which is horribly embarrassing, by the way. And streamed. True. Oh, this has not been as unbearably terrifying as I thought. Although, it's not the stream. It's the 17 channels that are going to watch the stream after to, like, freak out. Which I realize that if I just keep streaming, they'll just get tired of it because I've gone out of my way, I think, a little bit. I'm just not that interesting of a streamer, and I've been extremely distracted, but crying those acid tears. True. Collab with Lean Beef Patty. So I've been I talked a little bit with Monica Granda. So it looks like that might be a collab. There's a lot of fitness girls in Florida, so I need to get on that collab grind in Florida, especially before we move. But there's a couple of fitness girls that also do cosplay that I've met, so I would love to collab with them. It'll probably be mostly in, like, cosplay and, like, girly things, but maybe we'll do talking about some physical health stuff. I've been reading more on, like, women muscles stuff. Fitness cosplay is OP. Honestly, being into fitness is just kind of OP. I've realized especially that not leaning more into, like, doing some fitness content has just been silly, because fitness content is, like, one of the most generalizable forms of collab content. Like, most OF girls I know are into fitness. Sorry, moth. Most cosplay girls I know are also really into fitness. Like, it is most people I know that are really into podcasting are, like, fitness is just such a generalizable topic, especially for collaboration. I've been a fool not to just, like, lean in, because I think if I, like, grind really hard, I could probably get, like, a pretty solid look, especially for 31, right? I'm older, so I think I could lead into that. And then I have Nick to be my muscle science guy. Joining your Discord just reminded me, we almost ended up on a panel debating xenogenders or something. Run away, Sasha. Oh, but with the foot stuff, anyone who posts those, like, GIFs of me or whatever, and, like, you pay bits to, like, throw it up on your screen, just so it's clear, I've never been asked if somebody can use that. Nobody who uses it is very kind to me. In fact, almost everyone who uses it is really fucking awful to me. And they basically use it, I think it started out as, like, this funny meme, but the reality is they are sexualizing me to degrade me, which is really fucking weird. And I don't really like it. At the end of the day, it's public stuff. They can use it if they want to. But yeah, in general, I've, like, hit this line where if people are going to, like, sexualize me, that's fine. If you're going to sexualize me and then try to degrade me as a result of your sexualization, I'm just not really interested. And also, if you're going to use clips of other streamers, probably ask if you can, especially if it's meant to, like, mock them. Probably just ask. Or don't. But then, I don't know. It's weird. What's the worst crime Nick could commit and you would still be willing to remain married to him? Can he get away with genocide? I mean, the type of person Nick would have to become to do genocide, I probably would not be married to. No. Right? Like, that's the tricky thing when people are like, what crime could they get away with? As a feminist, I have a feeling I know who you are. First of all, never use the feminist line against me. It's not a good one, because I'm a feminist that not a lot of feminists like obviously. So yeah, trust but verify is probably an important thing to do, right? Trust but verify. And unfortunately in this situation, verification is impossible, which is why should just allow the police to do their work. And then afterwards, wait and see. And it's possible that even after the police are done their work, maybe they'll find nothing. There still might be something to think about. We'll just have to get there at least, right? I'm going to go genocide these chicken nuggets. Have fun. Yeah, I always find it funny when people are like, but as a feminist, you have to believe this. And I'm like, all you're telling me is that you've never seen my content. Like, first of all, I started out in 2022 literally explicitly not being a feminist. And then basically a rad femme convinced me to be a feminist by being like, you might disagree with most tenets of feminism, but that doesn't mean that you disagree with like the empowerment of women. So you are a feminist, you should claim it. And just like, you can have your own version of feminism. I was like, based, okay. So as a feminist, how do you feel about genocide? Of men? You were business partners with him. Why are you being so dishonest? Being business partners with somebody isn't the same thing as working with for somebody. I don't know what you're saying. I don't think you understand what you're talking about. Do you believe an R-rated movies desensitize you? No. Unless you're like under the age of like 10, I think. Dan has a boring life. I don't know, being super rich with a wife and kids. I don't know, living in Miami Beach. Boring sounds great. Why would you be in the US if not for your business partnership with Destiny? I was planning to come to the US no matter what, because if I wanted to continue streaming and doing content, being in the US is the best place to do it. International flights from specifically Edmonton is like $700 to $800 a pop. So my goal was to move to the US no matter what. And when I got an opportunity to start coming towards the US with PV, I just took it. And then I got very lucky because Bridges was also occurring, and Bridges was the medium by which I got my visa. But there were other mediums I was looking at to get my visa through other than Bridges. But obviously Bridges was like a huge pull. But everyone who's been like I was going to come to America no matter what. And I was extremely blessed to have Bridges. It was a huge part of what helped me be here. But to be clear, I didn't make any money from it. Because Bridges was not very financially like secure in its own right. I made money through progressive victory. That's how I paid my bills, and savings and progressive victory. It sounds roundabout. The issue is that like legally things need to be said in such a way, right? Is the Bridges Patreon still live? It is, but obviously there isn't new filmed content. I'm hopefully meeting with, like I said, Ben tonight to start planning the next filming. And every podcast that Bridges puts out will also be on it. So all Bridges related content, because we're going to be more of like a media conglomerate, will be on there. Let's see if he got back to me. Nope. Yeah, most of the DGen comments are coming from Twitch, which is kind of crazy. Oh, you know what? A lot of them might actually be, they might be like Mike from PA and CaseyTron people. Because, you know, who really enjoyed lying about me during all this? Fucking CaseyTron. She was like, aren't you that girl who was part of this like Bob 7 drama that was mean to me or something? I don't know anything much about the Bob 7 drama. It's visible, but you can't read it. And I was like, bro, I wasn't streaming 4 years ago. Like, what are you talking about? And then she blocked me. So thanks, Casey. Crazy to just like come at somebody with so much heat and be like, you're that stupid bitch who did this thing during this drama to me. I'm like, no, actually, I'm not. I guess all women are alike. Like, I don't know. And then just to block, just be like, block. Crazy. Thank you, Giorgio.
Nobody has sent money in a while, so here's moneyed. Thank
you. I appreciate it. I'll probably stream again tomorrow. Then I'm traveling to DC for a few days. Then I'll be back. I'm probably gonna... Oh, okay. Yes. So projects that are upcoming that you're probably curious about. As many of you have probably heard at the beginning, or if you hadn't, you're tuning in now. I have not been doing content because I have been genuinely depressed, and having like panic attacks when I think about going live. You might be like, this was all a big nothing, or maybe it was a big deal. It was a huge deal to me. It was really, really tough. And so I just...
Do you think it's okay to advocate for men to stopping watching X-rated content as long as you don't demonize SW workers in the process?
Yeah, I think it's okay to advocate for a lot of things. Yeah, of course. Which is why I haven't been making content, but I have been like still trying to like figure out who I am, what I think. I genuinely think that I've wronged you guys actually by not taking my own content seriously. I've always just seen content as like a means to the treatment center. And as a result of that, I haven't seen my content and the content that I can make of my own as a means in and of itself. And there's been a lot of like negativity, but I've also been like blown away by the amount of like kindness and positivity. And yeah, some of the people who didn't reach out or did reach out and just said like nasty things to me was really shocking and sad. And then some of the people who reached out to like just let me know that they cared, I was really blown away by and blessed by. And so yeah, I'm going to try to take my own content seriously as a means in and of itself. Anything you would do differently in your association with Destiny looking back? I wouldn't just see Bridges as like all I need to worry about and just give up on my own content. I think I was really handed like a lottery ticket that most content creators would die for. And I was like, meh, whatever. Basically, like, I mean, I tried to do content and I moved for it and stuff like that, but I feel like I didn't take my own content very seriously. And for those of you who watch me for me, I'm really sorry. Because I feel like in some ways I've like taken for granted that belief in me. And I guess I want to say, I'm sorry. I'm having a rough go. So I can't promise you about like consistency or content coming out, but thank you genuinely for everyone who sent me kind words. Thank you for people who've like stood up for me when people are like spreading misinfo about me. Thank you for people who are still critical of me, but also willing to like listen to me. Thank you for people who disagree with me, but also don't like view me as the villain that they need to like attack and tear down. Thank you. I'm trying not to lose all of the like kindness and humanity that's occurred in all this amidst like all of like the negativity. And so I do have content planned and I don't know about the time of release just because I need to balance. But okay, so a couple things. Number one, I figured since my mental health is fucked and broken, I'm going to...
Just a heads up, I will be clipping you in context in order to paint you in a positive light.
That would be really nice, actually. Most people that clip me just don't. I mean, well, so if anyone that like wants to help me in that way, that's super helpful. Gonna be meeting with Ben. We are gonna be doing more Bridges episodes. I don't know when the release date will be, and I think I want to build up a large retinue of content so that I can get some really consistent posting going on. We plan to do the humanizing. We plan to do rotating co-hosts. So I'll go to like Ben's house. I'm gonna go to Mr. Beat's house, and then I'm gonna fly in guests that they're interested in, and we'll have an episode conversation with those people that will be on Bridges. So rotating co-hosts that I am friends with. So CJ the X, Milo, Flint, Mr. Beat, Kyla Scanlon, all these people being Ben Jordan have all been very interested, very excited to do it with them. And as I meet new guests, I'll probably also get new co-hosts in the future. So it'll be kind of this rotating thing where I'm mobile and I go to people's places. Another form of content that will be coming out, probably the first one will be in June. I'll probably be filming in June or July with Chris Williamson. I want him to be the first one that I do this with, but essentially I go behind the scenes. I follow them for 2 to 3 days to basically like watch their life, watch how they do their work, just like basically fly on the wall their life, but with a camera. And then at the end, interview them about their views, beliefs, and why they believe it, and use some of the information I've gathered from like seeing them from behind the scenes for the last 2 to 3 days to inform that conversation. So that's another thing. Those will be way less often, but really interesting. We are going to do the humanizing. So I'd like to do Lauren Southern if she'll do it. I would like to do Sneeko again. Yeah, I feel like there's so many people to do the humanizing with. Anna Kasparian would be really cool if she'd do it. Chank, I think, might be interested in it. So we'll do some humanizing episodes. And then personally, I am also going to start...
Even if you didn't take your content as seriously as you think you should have, you still helped a ton of people. When we talked on your Patreon Sunday thing, you convinced me I should probably seek therapy.
That's cool. That's amazing. I'm going to do this thing. So for my autoimmune disorder, I have to fill out this measure every day tracking my dryness. So I had the genius idea that I'm going to psychometry myself, and I am going to basically go through all of the empirically valid ways to treat like anxiety, depression, but also, so I don't just want to go for like treating like -4 to 0 anxiety, depression, but also validated ways to improve overall well-being. I'm going to evaluate myself daily since I have to do it anyways for this clinical trial. And I'm going to do 30 days of different treatments, basically. So the first one that I'm going to implement is nature, because I've already been doing a lot of it. There's a couple of very specific nature paradigms that you can include that are shown to be beneficial for anxiety, depression, but also for well-being. And I'm going to track my data over time, collect it, and then I'll do a video on it so you can kind of see how I felt. And I'm also going to do a series on people, so on men and women. I'm going to basically do like intense existential, so taking principles of existential therapy, like how they think about people, and bring that into an interview. So it won't be therapy. It will definitely not be therapy. It's going to probably be pretty intense, and I'm going to push them on a lot of stuff, but they're going to be very raw. The goal is to see the person as a 3D person. So those will be on my own channel. And I think I have 2 women that are probably going to do it with me. So I'm excited. So, yeah. And then I've also working on a new podcast with a friend of mine named Anya. It's right now we're calling it 2 Hot Slits. I'm not married to the name, okay? It's a bit of a provocative name. It'll be audio only for now. We're going to release it everywhere that you can get podcasts. We're going to talk about like pop culture. So right now we have 2 segments where we do main character of the week and Reddit rot. We'll probably film a couple more episodes and then I'll start releasing them week by week. Yeah, Ayla kind of inspired her to being like, wait, I can do that thing, but like I use my psychometric background to like do some of this. So yeah, I'm excited about the future. I just apologize for not being around, and sorry. And I thank you guys for being patient with me in the time in between.